A farmer found a strange hole in his field, but what he saw inside made him never want to go back. One morning in Idaho, Mark, a 41-year-old farmer, saw something new near his barn. A hole had appeared in the ground overnight. Mark wanted to know how deep it went. He tied a torch to his camera and slowly lowered it inside. At first it looked normal, but soon the air grew colder and a strange dripping sound echoed from below. At 250 feet down, flashes of light started to show on the screen. At 400 feet, Mark saw strange lines on the walls, shaped like symbols going around in circles. Then at 600 feet, something moved across the screen, and what Mark saw made him drop the rope in fear. The next morning, Mark woke up before the sun had even risen. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, his mind still spinning from what he had seen on the camera. The cracked lens lay on his nightstand, a reminder that what had happened wasn't just a dream. The strange lights, the whispering sounds, the shadow moving past the screen. It was all too real. He rubbed his face and stood, walking slowly to the kitchen. As the kettle boiled, he looked out the window toward the field. The hole was still there, as dark and silent as before. For a moment, he thought about going back with a stronger camera, but the memory of the sudden jolt and the broken lens made his stomach twist. By late morning, he couldn't keep the secret any longer. He got into his truck, the USB stick with the footage in his pocket, and drove into town. The roads were quiet, lined with wheat fields that swayed gently in the wind. But Mark didn't notice the beauty of it. His thoughts were on the hole. At the small community center, he found Claire, the local news reporter. She was surprised to see him. "You look pale," she said, frowning. "Is everything all right?" "No," Mark said. "I need you to see something. Right now." She raised an eyebrow but led him into her office. Mark plugged the USB stick into her computer. The two of them sat side by side as the footage began to play. At first it looked normal, just the inside of the hole. But when the lights flashed across the screen, Claire leaned forward. "What is that?" she whispered. "I don't know," Mark said quietly. Then the shadow moved across the lens. Claire gasped. "Mark, this can't be real." "It is," he said firmly. "That's my field." By the time the video ended, Claire was staring at him, her face pale. She didn't ask more questions. She simply said, "People need to see this." That evening, a short clip from the video went online. It spread faster than either of them expected. By midnight, thousands of people had watched it. Some wrote that it was fake, a trick to get views, but others swore it was proof of something the government had been hiding. Conspiracy channels started showing it, pausing at the lights, replaying the moment the shadow flashed by. Mark's phone buzzed non-stop. Friends asked what was happening. Strangers demanded answers. He turned it off, but sleep didn't come. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the whispers from the recording. At sunrise the next day, the sound of engines woke him. He rushed to the window and froze. 3 black trucks rolled slowly down his dirt road. Dust billowed behind them. Men in dark suits stepped out. Their faces were serious. They carried no smiles, no warmth. Mark stepped out onto his porch as one of them approached. "Mr. Collins?" the man asked in a steady voice. "Yes," Mark answered, his throat dry. The man showed a badge, flashing it so quickly Mark barely caught a glimpse. "I'm Agent Harris. We're here regarding a matter on your land." "What matter?" Mark asked, though he already knew. Agent Harris didn't answer right away. Instead, he gave a small nod to the men behind him. They began walking toward the hole as if they knew exactly where it was. Mark followed, his boots crunching in the dirt. When they reached the hole, one of the men pulled a small device from his pocket and set it near the edge. It beeped softly, a red light flashing. They exchanged glances. "What is this?" Mark asked, his voice shaking. Agent Harris turned to him. "Mr. Collins, for your safety and the safety of others, we need to secure this area immediately. Starting today, your land is under investigation." Mark blinked. "This is my farm. I own this land. You can't just. This is a matter of national security." Harris cut him off sharply. "From this moment on, you are to stay away from this site. Do you understand?" Mark's stomach turned. "National security? It's just a hole." Harris's eyes narrowed. "It's not just a hole." Within an hour, more trucks arrived. Soldiers in plain uniforms unloaded fencing and equipment. Tall metal panels went up around the field, blocking the view from the road. Large white tents appeared, their sides zipped closed. Strange machines hummed as they were switched on near the hole, their lights glowing faintly in the morning air. Mark stood helpless as his farm turned into something that didn't belong to him anymore. When he pulled out his phone to take a picture, a soldier stepped forward and snatched it from his hand. "You won't be needing this," the man said flatly. Mark's heart pounded. "That's my phone." The soldier didn't answer. He just walked away. Soon after, they took his camera, his laptop, even the USB stick. That evening, Agent Harris returned, holding a stack of papers. "You'll need to sign these," he said. Mark looked at the top page. The words blurred in front of him, but he saw enough to understand. They were confidentiality papers. He wasn't allowed to talk about the hole. Not to his friends, Not to his neighbors, not to anyone. I don't want to sign this, Mark said, his voice trembling. If you refuse, Harris said calmly, we'll make sure you regret it. Mark's hand shook as he signed. That night, lying in bed, he thought he could hear the hum again. It wasn't loud. It was deep, steady, like the earth itself was breathing. He pressed his ear to the floorboards. The sound was real. The next day, his neighbor, an old man named George, came to visit. George had lived in the town all his life. What's going on out there, Mark? He asked, lowering his voice. I saw the trucks. People are talking. Mark hesitated, then whispered, You didn't see anything. You didn't hear anything. George frowned. They told you to keep quiet, didn't they? Mark looked down. Please, George, just stay away. A few nights later, another neighbor claimed he had seen a glowing light hovering over the fenced area. Others said the ground trembled beneath their feet when they walked nearby, though no earthquake was ever recorded. Mark wanted to ask questions, but every time he left his house, one of the men in suits was there watching him. When he tried calling Claire, her number was gone. Just gone. One evening, after another restless night, Mark packed a small bag. He didn't leave a note. He didn't tell anyone. He just got into his truck and drove off into the darkness. The farm stayed behind, locked and fenced. Weeks later, the land was blurred on online maps. People who tried to drive past were turned away by armed guards, and the hole itself, no one saw it again. All that remained was the short video clip that had leaked online. The strange lights, the markings on the wall, the shadow that moved too fast to follow. To this day, people argue about what happened at Mark's farm. Some say the government covered up something ancient, buried deep below. Others believe the hole was sealed to stop something dangerous from coming out. But Mark was never seen again. And late at night, if you drive near that stretch of land, locals swear you can still hear the faint humming, rising up from deep underground. Dog